Welcome to Landwards, the podcast for the land-based engineering community, brought to you by the Institution of Agricultural Engineers.
I'm joined today now by Charlie Nicklin, Chief Executive Officer of the Institution of Agricultural Engineers. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Andy.
Thank you for joining me. We have turned left of Charlie and I. We've turned left, we've come up the stairs, and we are on top of the Merlo stand, looking down on everybody around us. We were just saying, it's great to get out and see people and meet up. So really, I guess what I'm saying, Charlie, is tell me what's happening at Lamma for you, for the institution, and what's floating your boat in the world of agricultural engineering at the moment.
Well, so the formal part of my day at Lamma is very much to do with the Innovation Awards. So we proudly sponsor the Best in Show Innovation Award at Lamma, which is awarded on the day. So the people who've won it don't know they've won it. So we've proudly presented that to Knight Sprayers for their nozzle technology that they're developing at the moment. So that's the really nice part of the job, is coming to Lamma and presenting people with awards and celebrating the good work they do. But no, it's great to come out and see some of the latest developments. The mood in agriculture is quite low at the moment with what's going on politically. And there's been some challenges around machine sales this year, but it's still great to come out and see some of the products and innovations that are on show.
And it's interesting, I've had several conversations around the general theme of mental health, and it's very clear there's a lot of people here getting a lot of support just by being able to talk to each other. You know, it's a really positive experience to catch up with people when maybe you've been stuck on the farm or you've been stuck at work, not having the opportunity to see someone you've not seen for a while. So it's great to be here.
Absolutely. I mean, with a show like this, you can't walk very far before you bump into somebody you know, and that's the same. I've just bumped into some local farmers not so long ago, and it's nice to sort of chew the cud with them, because it is quite a solitary job, and you do need to talk to people. There is a lot of pressure in the industry at the moment, so it's essential people talk to each other, and that's just not just farmers, that's dealers as well, and it's also good for manufacturers to bounce ideas back and forth.
The whole machinery supply chain is feeling the pain at the moment of a declining market, and I think being open and being honest is a really good thing. So thinking about technology, what's caught your eye today?
With IAgrE and the things that we're involved with, there's always an environmental and sustainability flavour. And I probably didn't used to have that in my head before I got more heavily involved with IAgrE. But really, with what's going on with the climate and so forth, it's really important. So I think it's essential that the innovations are sort of ticking those environmental sustainability boxes. And I think I like seeing that. So there's a lot, Kubota, I've seen have tied up with Robotti, which is an interesting gantry-style robot that I quite like. So that's an interesting development. And it'd be nice to see some more stuff as we wander around the show.
Perfect. Well, look, thanks for your time, Charlie. I'll let you get on. Thank you.
Good stuff, thank you.
So I'm here today with Brian Knight, who runs Knight Farm Machinery. Morning, Brian.
Good morning.
We're speaking as agricultural engineers now. What do you make of the show here? What do you make of Lamma? Why did you come?
Well, it's warmer than being outside, but it's more expensive than being outside as well.
There's the voice of bitter experience and frostbite.
It's a good show. It's certainly developed over time, and it's a good show for us.
And it's a different world to us standing in a field in Newark 20 years ago.
Yeah, it is.
Put it that way.
It is. There's positives and negatives. The positive is that it's nice and dry and warm. The negative is that when we stood in a field at Newark, I'd probably have 10 or 15 machines for you to look at.
Because you could afford the space.
Because I could afford the space, and I can't afford the space here, so we have to be selective about what we bring.
And you've just launched your Smart Inject system today, which you've got a gold award from Lamma for. But looking forward, where do you see the innovation? Where do you see the ideas?
Well, you never really know until you stumble over the idea. So really, what you concentrate on is the problems. Yeah. And with Smart Inject, we were concentrating on the problem of how you make the best of patch spraying, and we believe we've come up with an idea that revolutionises it. So it'll fit on any sprayer. It doesn't have to just be on a night sprayer. It can go on any sprayer, and that's really the beauty of it.
No, and I think you're right. You made a comment earlier about inspiration strikes at 4 a.m. My experience is good ideas don't happen when you're sat with a pen and paper looking for a good idea. You're usually doing something else, and I think that's just the way our minds work.
I think it's the way my mind works. At my age, I've realised that I wake up in the early hours dreaming about it and go, I know how to do it. And a lot of the ideas that I've brought to the industry over the years have happened that way.
My thought process is definitely don't work in conventional ways, and I'm usually doing something else, or I've started a thought process and forgotten about it, and then when I've come back to it, whatever's happened in the meantime, it's not necessarily some kind of structured plan thing, it just pops up.
Definitely. I was just talking to one of my fellow UK manufacturers a few minutes ago, and we were just having exactly the same conversation. Your brain doesn't stop working.
No.
If that's the way, if that's the way you are, that's the way you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Brian, thanks for a couple of minutes now. Hope you have a good show.
No problem. Thank you very much.
I'm now joined by Oliver Wood, head of Omnia. All right, we're at Lamma today. What time is it? It's 10:25 in the morning on Wednesday, and it's starting to warm up, starting to get quite busy.
Yeah.
Looking at the horizon, what's exciting you technology-wise? You are allowed to step outside of the world of your day job here, but what's exciting you in terms of innovation and technology in agriculture?
I think that I suppose I do look around at some machines and I am not as excited as I once was, because it seems that...
You're getting older like me. That's what it is. I think we're all getting older, and we're kind of going, I remember that, it just didn't have a nice cab on it.
Yeah, so I think there is some of that. I mean, I live in a digital world, so I tend to get excited about digital stuff.
Mm.
I think that, not wishing to sound too dull and predictable, I think that we are scratching the edges about what AI can potentially do, and I always hear people's eyes rolling when I say that.
Yes.
But actually, we are very much scratching the surface, and I think that it's got the ability, if we can harness it properly, to tell us all sorts of stuff that we never knew before.
But AI, to use the hammer analogy, you can build a house with a hammer, or you can kill someone with it.
Yes, you can.
And at the end of the day, AI is the label of a suite of tools and technology which is helping you process massive amounts of data and reach decisions. It's not necessarily a new life form, shall we
exactly
say.
That. No, and I think that, if you take an average farm, they would have massive amounts of data, and trying to understand what it means as a human being looking at individual things, you can spend hours and hours and days and not find any trends. If we can feed that into a clever model to go and look for trends, then actually we can spend our time saying, do we agree with that, rather than spending our time trying to find out the answer.
The debate and the discussion about AI is fascinating and fertile. And it's a bit muddied when the Prime Minister yesterday banks the future of the UK on AI. And I think, I may be wrong, but I have a feeling he doesn't quite know what he's talking about, but he's being advised that it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably guilty of that myself as an engineer. I think I know what AI is, but the reality is there's lots of very discrete sets of software, discrete sets of services doing very specific things under the broad umbrella of AI. It's a bit like talking about precision farming.
It is.
So what is it? And actually,
it could be a whole range of different things that kind of mean some things to some, not much to others. You were talking about the Prime Minister. I had the pleasure of going to Oxford Farming Conference last week, and there was a really interesting development that JCB were talking about with their new engines.
Yeah.
And I think that hydrogen is a really interesting area. Everyone was kind of backing electric, particularly in the car world. I see that BMW are also looking at going down that road as well, and that's something that I personally know very little about, but it's something that I want to understand more about.
Funnily enough, I've done quite a bit of work with JCB and been on a few press trips around the hydrogen engine, and their journey to hydrogen started off as a journey to electric.
Yes.
And it became really clear really quickly to them, but far from home remote work equipment And I mean, I'm not doing a sales pitch for JCB, I believe in the premise, which is why Cummins have got a hydrogen engine and why numerous other engine manufacturers globally Deutz are working on, and Deutz are a big engine manufacturer.
And again, it makes, so it was really good to kind of see that whole, see that whole talk, because they do talk about their journey over the last 7 or 8 years.
Yes.
They assumed that electric was going to be the way forward, and actually they've gone in different directions. And I can understand why businesses that have been making diesel engines for, I don't know, since diesel engines were a thing, want to try and carry on, because they understand that. They understand how those bits of metal work. There's a lot of work. Actually, it's very much within their wheelhouse to just move to a different fuel, but keep the core the same.
And I think if you look at the JCB hydrogen engine, they will say from the midriff down, if you like, it's the same engine as a diesel max. It's a different fueling system, it's a different compression ratio, obviously different technology to store the fuel. But fundamentally, it's still a compression ignition or a spark ignition engine.
Definitely, and I think coming back to whereabouts we started, they started off with the problem and found a genuinely innovative way of dealing with that problem that they hadn't even thought of when they actually started trying to find the problem.
Their feedback from their customers was, we know we need to move away from dirty diesel, inverted commas, but we want a diesel analogous product. So that was the starting point. I think it's probably a good time to wrap up now, Ollie. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a good show. Thanks, man. Bye-bye. I'm now joined by Jim Garrod from JP Trek. Now, you are an IAgrE member. You're an agricultural engineer in terms of training and background. You're at Lamma today, Jim. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much, Andy. Nice to see you too. So I'm here on a mission to catch up with clients from a recruitment perspective. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 and a half years in the industry. We work very closely with a number of key OEMs in the UK market and overseas, and some of the distribution network as well. So relationship building is key to what we do. But I think from a recruitment perspective, what are we looking at this year? Some consolidation, and I think the availability of good commercial skills is going to make a big difference this year. I think companies need to invest in some sales training at times as well. There's some skill sets out there that are in demand. We're here to pick up on those.
With regard to the Institution of Agricultural Engineers, we're all about people. And, this show is about technology. There's obviously a lot of technology on offer. The wheels don't keep turning without the right people doing the right thing. So if you were to give your 1 minute elevator pitch, because someone who's listening to this will be saying, what do I need to do to make myself more available and more attractive in the workplace? Just give me that 1 minute. Here's my advice to you as an engineer wanting to move on in the agricultural machinery supply chain, for instance.
Get yourself noticed. LinkedIn is a great place to start. LinkedIn profiles are everywhere, and I think if you put some quality content on that, you will be on the radar. So that puts you in the public domain.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be your own content. You can just share stuff which wets your whistle.
And I think as a society, we're embracing social media at all ages now. So if you put some good engaging content on LinkedIn, that's a good start. And I'll pitch for myself. Come and talk to us as well.
Yeah, tag someone. I quite agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, look, ever so brief, but thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you for your time, Andy.
I'm now joined, and I'm just going to say a big thank you for the start too. I'm now joined by Shaun Groom from Merlo. Just to say, firstly, thanks, Shaun, because we're sat on the roof of your show stand on your upstairs gin palace, which I may just say for the next 2 days if you let us do. So anyway, hi Shaun, thanks for letting us join you today.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's great to be kicking the year off in what seems to be a very busy and bustling Lamma show.
Yeah, loads of people have come in. I've been in since 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's certainly from up here. You can see down the avenues, there's lots of people doing good business on the stands as far as I can say. So, start of the year, arguably a more difficult year for the industry. What are your predictions for the year? Maybe not predictions. What are your thoughts for the year going forward? Because it's going to be a different year, Shaun.
Yeah, I think it's 2 words sum it up, and it's probably cautious optimism. I've always been a glass half full kind of person, and I think again stood here just surveying what's around us. The aisles are full, people are talking. There's positive feedback on the stand. It's positive discussion. Yes, there's concerns about the new government, concerns about the budget, concerns about APR. but business continues, farming continues. It never stops. It's year on year.
No, I'd agree with that, and I think we neglect the personal at our peril. There's a lot of people here who won't have got out, won't have seen people. It's really good to get together and see people, particularly in January. It's a cold, wet month. We haven't got Christmas to look forward to. I feel this show really fills a niche, fills a gap, irrespective of business being done. It's just great to actually spend time and catch up with people.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how isolating or how lonely the industry can be, particularly for those working in on their own on farms. They don't maybe see a lot of folk throughout the working week. So to be able to come to Birmingham, which is relatively accessible for most people across the UK, to come into the warm and the dry after 30 years of doing Lamma and spending the bulk of those years outside in January, I, as much as anyone, appreciate the fact that we can stand here for 2 days in shirt sleeves and be comfortable. And I think it's a good
not take flu home with us.
Absolutely, and go home with the shivers.
Bronchitis.
So to be able to stand and talk to people in comfort. Yes, I know it was a big discussion about whether we should come here, but it's the right venue, it's the right time, it's the right location.
And it's what the industry has wanted for a very long time.
Absolutely. We're all presenting professional products, all companies here
and we're doing it in a professional way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not trudging through mud, we're not shaking out, we're not stopping marquees blowing away, and we're not trudging around in wood chip.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a professional setting for professional products.
Yeah, we like that. I think that's probably quite a good note to end on. So, Shaun, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm now joined by Toby Whatley, Head of Machinery and Technology at Farmers Guardian, and also agricultural engineer by training and profession. Toby, what's floating your boat at Lamma today?
So, for me, Andy, the show always changes and develops. We know there are challenges in the sector at the moment. What's really nice to see is the focus that manufacturers are on progressing, let's call it autonomous technology or alternative drives, or the use of
machine controls.
Yes, so there's a couple of stands here that are looking at retrofittable systems. We're still seeing some autonomy turning up, which I really quite like. But the other one that in a market where we know tractor manufacturers, big dealers, are struggling on sales and unit, we're seeing implements still progressing. We're seeing technology, particularly crop establishment. So seed drill technology is still progressing on the way of actually, can we plant seeds more accurately? Can we space them in a way?
Can we get better yields from lower seed rates?
Yes, and the one for me, and we're actually conveniently standing by, is the Knight system of direct inject into the spray nozzle. Now we've seen this technology around for a while, and we know there are some challenges with CRD on how we implement the system. But to move from a model where we go 8,000, 10,000 litre sprayer, let's fill it with mixed chemical, go and spray it, to go, let's fill it with water, okay, environmentally that's great, but inject our chemical into the nozzle.
At the point of application.
Correct. So we can vary our chemical rate and our application rate separately, or quite like that.
Yeah.
So your concentration and application rate can vary, quite clever, particularly if we're applying products within parameters of application. If you're looking at, say, population density of certain weeds or pests or whatever, you can start to do quite clever things that chemically can't do before.
And it's also quite flexible in that it's retrofittable on an existing sprayer.
Yeah, no, it's not new tech by any stretch of the imagination. I think probably the controlling systems for it have caught up.
Yeah, there's IP and patent around various bits of it.
Yes.
But it's doing something which happened before, but it used to happen in a really specific, expensive,
well, it was
way.
peristaltic pumps that didn't like being shaken and moved, which on a farm machine, which is shaken and moved.
Yeah, it has its inherent challenges.
We see a due case of failure.
Yes.
But the bit that I think you listen to people when they're talking about the stuff of cropping, so take a vegetable grower. If they're doing multi-species, multi-variety cropping on potentially a smaller planted area, so you're growing a certain
area of leeks,
and then you're growing a certain red cabbage for this customer, blah, 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 okay, breaks down. You're going, look, our tank washings and our product changeover are absolutely enormous.
Yeah, because there's a proportion of the time spent doing it. It's like 50-60% of your time.
Yeah, but
you spend more time mixing and cleaning than you do actually applying products.
You're not generating tank washings.
Yeah.
There are no tank washings to generate.
Yeah.
So when you go, right, okay, I'm going to go from this product to this product, we're talking about 5-10 litres of boom wash, not 2,000-3,000 litres of water?
Yeah, at 2,000-3,000 litres of water, where you've got to run a product through a tank 3 times to clean it out before you put the next product in, because the product A was really susceptible for plant B for product B.
Yeah. Now the other thing which, okay, a bit further down the track, now we'll talk about tank mixes. Now we know when we look at chemical safety, we think about individual product application, risk material fire injury, all of those are pertinent to the product. Something that we are now seeing and starting to recognise is what does the multiple tank mix look like? So if you're an agronomist and you said, look, you're going to put on this product, so you've got a 3 or 4 way tank mix, that combination of chemicals in those concentrations hasn't been tested.
And that's the big challenge of things like third-party spray software is, and the manufacturer's challenge of active product is the customer invariably wants to put the cocktail together.
But is that cocktail safe?
And we don't know.
No, and so this is
no
to me, it says, look, we know there are questions around how safe are multiple cocktails can be, in how they react with temperatures.
But if we don't have to mix them,
if
we don't have to put them in tank.
But there comes another line. So let's say
we can still apply them in one go.
Well, we can have a twin line spray system.
Yeah.
So I apply my herbicide through some nozzles and my insecticide through another nozzle. I'm applying them at the same field pass, but I can do them at different rates, at different concentrations. Well, I can do that anywhere in my tank mix, but we actually can do water volume concentration. But more importantly, I can apply them through completely different nozzles.
Yes.
So if I'm applying insecticide, I can put it on, a low O2, O3. If I'm applying a blight spray at the same time, I can put it on a bigger droplet.
And if you're doing a broad brush fungicide application, you could fundamentally spot spray wild oats at the same time.
Correct. And that to me is, yes, it's embryonic tech. Yes, it's if we're starting to say, okay, it goes in these directions, but suddenly going to be off.
Yeah, but we're seeing a direction of travel being laid out for an industry who's crying out for that direction of travel.
Well, environmentally, it's great. In terms of cost to the consumer, in terms of the consumer cost to the end user, it's great.
Yep.
But actually, from a manufacturer's point of view, you can build machines which are inherently safer for your operator.
Yep.
They are potentially simpler to build, and there is a great big asterisk by that, because the simplicity of the plumbing system changes. But it's those changes that I think are really
and the
key.
backstory of historical direct injection systems is that they are bespoke builds for single applications, which means A, the spray is really expensive, and B, it's worth sod all second hand because it was built for customer A.
And they, when I was involved in this technology a long time ago, you were talking about like parastatic pumps kidney dialysis machines. Fantastic if you want to build a kidney dialysis machine. If you want to build a piece of farm machinery, not so much.
So let's just. So I think we're both suitably warmed up and excited regarding the world of PWM Plus or whatever we're going to call the Gold Star award-winning product at Lamma. Engines. Let's talk about engines and fuel. I noticed that JCB have made a strategic alliance with a manufacturer to build fueling stations for hydrogen so that you can get stuff out in the field. It's a bit of a leading question, Toby, but we're clearly not going to be electrifying classical excellence just yet. Where are we going?
Well, it was a completely leading question, and we'll go along with that.
Thank you.
So, future fuels is a topic, understandably, we publish a lot, we talk about, I certainly talk about, I'm very passionate about it. I fundamentally don't believe that electric drives work in a world of large kilowatt off-highway applications.
Far from home.
Because physics says it doesn't work.
Yes.
And I'm a fan of physics. One of the things we're seeing is JCB is working with the sort of Rise Hydrogen project on distributed hydrogen.
There we are.
The German, and I now can't remember the name of the, it's not DLG, it's put together this.
VDI.
Thank you. It's almost like you should know.
Well, if only.
They run this union between Deutz, Class, Lever, looking at putting hydrogen together as a alternative product in off-highway applications. Now, one thing that's not here at Lamma, but we saw at the CES event in Las Vegas last week, the Consumer Electrical show, which obviously we've all heard of, where Kubota showed their prototype hydrogen generator.
Yes.
Now, to be clear, it is a hydrogen engine electrical
running
generator.
A generator rather than a little box which makes hydrogen in little packets.
Yes, it's not bags of hydrogen. But what was interesting about, so when we know Kubota's been developing a hydrogen engine, they've shown prototypes of it, they've shown concepts of it, so it's not an unknown. The change that really interests me is they said we developed this for the remote power generation sector. They've now put one together with a German supplier to say, look, okay, we're now this is where we see hydrogen being used. Now, of course, in a standby generator, there are some great advantages. Primarily, your hydrogen supply can be as permanent or as unmobile as you like. You can plumb it in. It becomes, you have the option to run it on another gas if you need different
because
fuel.
it's analogous in terms of running on a methane or an LPG.
Yeah. But it was more to go, look, this is the way of making electricity. Okay, right, we have electric vehicles, electric cars, they certainly have a place. Now, without going into the pantomime of energy losses, you start to go, you produce hydrogen, you run an engine, run a generator to charge a battery. Okay, it's not the perfect solution.
But that's about flexibility and versatility. And a lot of the debates about the history of why we hang on to diesel engines is because you put diesel in the tank and it works.
Well, the beauty of diesel is...
And when you run out of diesel in the middle of a field, you go and get another can of diesel and put it and bleed the engine.
Diesel is stable, it doesn't want to escape, and it is relatively cheap.
Yes.
And I think when you start to go, right, we look at other fuel alternatives. I'm a massive fan of hydrogen. I think there's a huge future with it. But I will always push that there is no single energy solution.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is we're going, electric's the future from people who want electric in the future.
Yeah, and we've got legislation driving us that way, but it's going to take a very, very big stick before we start ploughing the fields with a few HP7 batteries, isn't it?
Well, and also that physics doesn't allow it.
Yeah. So on that fine note, we're going to say physics doesn't allow. Toby Whatley, head of machinery and technology at Farmers Garden. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Newbold.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Landwards, the podcast for the land-based engineering community, brought to you by the Institution of Agricultural Engineers.